Yo, what is up guys? It is Bumfris, back with episode 35 of our Reddit series. Upon request, this one's going to be some ProRevenge, and I know you're going to love this one. Also, a quick thank you to everyone who subscribed in the last few days. I think in the last 3 days we've gotten 14,000 subscribers, which is crazy, and I cannot thank you all enough. So yeah, if you're new, don't forget to subscribe, but otherwise, sit back, relax, and laugh at some people getting some ProRevenge. So, I was an intern at a small startup during my education. When I got hired, they promised we could renegotiate my salary after 6 months. I gave it my all because I found the job interesting and challenging, and my bosses left me alone to work on large projects like making an automated shelving system for a factory, etc. No guidance or nothing. We moved to a new office and I put in extra hours painting the office, epoxying the factory floors, and because of my interest in hardware, I made all the networks, print servers, etc. During my first 6 months, I was paid around $12 an hour, which was normal student rates here. But I knew my boss was charging $70 an hour for my time to customers and went up to $115 my last year there. But now, I'd been there for 6 months, some days completely alone, having to tend for everything in the company. But despite all my hard work and extra hours, I was told they felt I was paid what they thought I was worth, which apparently was about 15% of what they charged others for my time. This was of course a bit of a slap to the face, and being I was in the middle of my education and under contract, I couldn't just leave. So for the rest of my time there, I had to sit there for $12 an hour, knowing they pocketed around $50 an hour on my work, treating me like crap and doing absolutely nothing to teach me anything, which was part of their responsibility to me as a student. I got through my time as a student and quit the company as soon as my contract was out, and never looked back. A few months after I had quit, I received a phone call from my old boss, and the conversation went something like this. My old boss says, "Hi, this is your a-hole old boss. We're having some network issues, so would you mind coming over and fixing it for us since you're the only one with all the codes?" So I respond, "Sure, I'll only charge you $115 an hour since that's the price you set for my time already." And my boss goes, "But that's way too much." And you could hear the sound of steam coming out of his ears. And then I say, "That's the price you charged me for my time while you told me it was only worth $12. And just for telling me it's too much, my rate's just doubled." My boss in shock then goes, "But you're the only one that has all the codes. You can't do that. We can't get into any of the systems." Yeah, well, good luck with that. And then I hang up, and it was the best feeling ever. You know, when it comes to stories like these, you just want to say, suck it to the boss. Admittedly though, I do kind of wonder what happened with the systems at the end of the day. Did they just have to completely scrap them and start again, or what happened? I guess we'll never know. A while ago, I told this story to some friends and they suggested I post it on a men going their own way / cheating girlfriend pages. I stumbled onto this page the other day and figured I would repost it for laughs. I'm not a woman hating troll. So 18 or 19 years ago, when I was about 30, I was 6 months into a really good committed relationship with a woman in her late 20s. She was a reporter with a local newspaper. Really smart, awesome girlfriend. She became pregnant, moved in with me, and 9 months later we had my son. Immediately after giving birth, she went crazy. I forced her to see a psychiatrist and we found out that she was suffering from postpartum psychosis and bipolarism from her screwed up hormones. Her psychiatrist was working with her obstetrician and gynecologist to try and get her hormones straightened out. But like a lot of people with mental health issues, she refused to take her medication. I had to hire a nanny to babysit this crazy lady and keep her from hurting my son or setting the house on fire. She had the mentality of a 13-year-old Kardashian and all she wanted to do was party and do drugs. She drained my bank account and maxed out my credit card. After 8 months in hell, I'd reached my limit and decided to take her to court and sue for full custody. Luckily, we were not married. I looked for advice from a few friends who had been through bad divorces, and one of them said I should get a DNA test before going to court. I asked why, and he said that his cousin had witnessed something, but didn't want to get involved without knowing if the kid was mine or not. It turns out that just before getting pregnant, his cousin and my girlfriend went on a drunken bar-hopping bachelorette weekend with some girlfriends in New Orleans. My girlfriend ran into an ex-boyfriend at one of the bars, slept with him in the bathroom, and then went back to partying. So I secretly took my son in for a paternity test, and 4 months later, I got the results. I was not the father. I cried on and off for days, just barely holding it together so she wouldn't become suspicious. And after a few days, I realized that I didn't owe this woman anything. It was a lucky coincidence that my girlfriend, her family, and my son were going out of town for a few days to a family reunion. My girlfriend's parents lived nearby and I knew where they hid a spare key. So after they left, I packed up all of hers and the kids' stuff in garbage bags and left it all in her parents' living room. I also left a copy of the DNA test and a long letter explaining how she cheated on me and all the crazy things she had done in the last year. I was renting a nice house in a nice neighborhood and a friend was always telling me he wanted first dibs on my place if I ever moved. I called him and he jumped at the chance to take over my lease. I told the landlord my story and she was okay with my friend moving in. Yes, this was illegal, but my landlord was an ignorant country folk who didn't know the law and was just renting out her dead grandparents' house. I packed all my stuff in a U-Haul, quit my job that I hated, and left. Her parents and family lived in town and I knew she would be taken care of. I found better work in another state and never looked back. I told my friend that he needed to change the locks ASAP because my girlfriend was going to freak out when she came back. I also asked my friend to tell my now ex-girlfriend that I'd simply moved to an apartment across town, not that I'd left the state. I didn't want her chasing after me. Everything else I'd heard from my friends after I left. So a few days later, my ex comes home and can't get in the door. And then she flips out when my friend opens it, but won't let her inside. She calls the cops and is in the process of raising hell and yelling at the police when her mum calls her and tells her that all of her stuff is on the living room floor and she needs to go there right now. My friend said it was like watching an episode of Jerry Springer. Now, I was fine at leaving it that and keeping it between us. But a few days later, our friends start calling me asking me what had happened. And then my ex was talking rubbish about me all over town and saying that I'd abandoned them on the street and she had to move back in with her parents. So I told everyone what she'd done and they were like, what a crazy lady. So for the next 2 weeks I got emails from my ex telling me that I'm a bastard for abandoning them and I need to man up and take care of my responsibilities, never acknowledging that she cheated on me and got pregnant by another man. What a psycho. The word of what she did got out and she sent me emails telling me that I was an a-hole, I ruined her reputation, and she was humiliated. This whole time she thought that I was still living and working nearby. She sent me hate emails for 6 months before she realized I was in another state. Her parents took care of the kid and she eventually found some loser sugar daddy to take care of her and feed her drugs. About 6 months after I left, she found the biological father, her ex-boyfriend. He had a DNA test done and he took responsibility. Had his name put on the birth certificate, and eventually got full custody of the boy. He was raised by his real dad and his family. All is well. It sucks, but the entire time, I just felt really sorry for this kid. You know, ultimately, the mum was the one who was in the wrong here, but at the end of the day, the kid was the one who suffered. I'm just really glad that last edit was there because it means the kid has a proper chance of a good upbringing. Who knows? Given this was so long ago, maybe we'll find out one day. Back in the summer of 1990, I was in the army and we were getting ready to deploy to Operation Desert Shield or Desert Storm. One of the squad leaders in my platoon, Sergeant A-hole, was a mean, miserable son of a bitch who enjoyed torturing and bullying us lower ranked guys. We all hated him. Now, I don't know how this happened, maybe he was on his best behavior, but he met this sweet little country girl and started dating her. And true to his nature, he eventually started treating her like crap. He was physically and emotionally abusive to her, but there was nothing we could do. The only thing in the world that he really cared about or loved was his Harley Davidson motorcycle. 6 or 8 months into the relationship, she got pregnant and he did the right thing and married her. So now we're all packing our gear and vehicles, writing our wills and taking care of loose ends. And even though Sergeant A-hole was a control freak, he left his wife a complete power of attorney so she could take care of anything that came up while we were deployed. So fast forward about 5 or 6 months to January of 1991, Desert Storm is about to kick off and we're camped out in the desert on the border of Iraq and Saudi Arabia. We're stressed out and scared to death. One evening, we have mail call and Sergeant A-hole gets a big thick manila envelope. Thinking that it's pictures or something special, he opens it in front of everyone and pulls out some photos of his wife and baby giving him the middle finger. Then he pulls out a photo of some guy sitting on his Harley holding up a $1 bill with a big grin on his face. Also, included in the envelope was a copy of the bill of sale for $1 and divorce papers. Sergeant A-hole starts flipping out, yelling and screaming, and it's everything we can do to keep a straight face and not laugh. One of the other sergeants takes his rifle from him, and the platoon sergeant puts a hand on his shoulder and walks him out into the desert for a long, I've been divorced twice, father and son kind of talk. It was like Christmas came twice that year, and I got the giggles every time I saw him. We wanted to mess with him and give him crap, but we were told to leave him alone or he might lose it and start shooting people. It turned out that his wife sold or gave away all his stuff, moved back in with her family, wanted full custody of their child, and got a restraining order against him. He got out of the army shortly after we returned, and I don't know whatever happened to him. But he deserved whatever he got. Seriously, the willpower that it would take to stay in a physically abusive relationship that entire time, and then wait for them to be deployed just so you can get a divorce with them, it must have taken a lot of guts. Being on the receiving end of that, I actually can't imagine anything worse. I guess this really is a pro-revenge. Alright everyone, that is that for today's episode of ProRevenge. I just want to start off by saying thank you so much for watching and I hope you enjoyed the video. This one was something a little bit different. At the end of the day, it did get quite a few requests, so I'm really glad to be able to put out some content that you guys have been asking for. And on top of that, I actually really enjoyed this one. I'm quite surprised there's not more YouTubers doing this because this is a really good subreddit and I really enjoyed reading out these posts. So yeah, if you haven't been on this subreddit before, check it out. It's really, really good. I wouldn't say it's so much funny, but it's really entertaining and I definitely recommend it. Outside of that, just a quick thank you to everyone who subscribed recently. 63,000 subscribers is something that I never in my life thought I would get near, and it's incredible for me to be able to say that I'm at that mark. So thank you to everyone, not just the ones that have subscribed recently, but everyone that watches my videos. But yeah, that does just about wrap things up for today. I just want to say again, thank you so much for watching. I hope you're all having a fantastic day, and I'll see you all tomorrow for another episode of Entitled Parents. Bye.